I tried dark psychology for 30 days. What started out as a fun experiment turned into something way deeper and maybe a little dangerous. I used psychological tricks to influence people around me. Friends, family, co-workers, no one was safe. And the results? Wild, unexpected, sometimes hilarious, sometimes unsettling. This is the story of how I used persuasion tactics on real people every single day for a month. For science, for curiosity, and yeah, a little bit for chaos. Let's start with week 1, where I laid the foundation. Day 1, the Reciprocity Principle. So the first concept I tested was reciprocity. The idea is simple. When you give someone something, anything, they feel the subconscious need to return the favor. It's like an ancient survival code wired into our brains. I decided to weaponize that. I brought coffee for my coworker, not just any coffee, his exact order, medium latte, 1 shot of hazelnut, extra foam. I didn't ask for anything, I just smiled and said, "Hey, thought you might want a boost today." He was surprised, grateful, suspicious, but he took it. Later that afternoon, I forgot to bring my charger. Guess who offered theirs? Yup, without hesitation. Observation: reciprocity works freakishly well even for small stuff. Success rate, 1 out of 1. Day 2, more favors, bigger returns. Now that I knew it worked, I scaled it up. I brought donuts to the office. Held doors open. Sent encouraging texts to a few friends I hadn't spoken to in a while. I was Mr. Generosity. Then came the ask. I needed help moving a couch. Not fun, heavy, hot day. Out of the 5 people I'd been buttering up, 4 said yes immediately. The 5th offered to lend me her truck. Observation: people want to be fair even when it costs them time, gas, and potential back injuries. Success rate, 4.5 out of 5. Personal note: I may have started to enjoy this a little too much. Day 3, social proof, the power of the crowd. Today's tool, social proof. People look to others to decide what's right. If everyone's doing it, it must be right. So I tested this in conversations. I told a friend I was reading this amazing book that everyone's talking about. I mentioned it offhand like it was casual. By the end of the day, he texted me a screenshot he'd bought it. I posted a review of a random local taco truck on my Instagram story and said, 10 people recommended this to me. It's elite. That truck sold out by 4 p.m. I asked the guy at the counter. "We've never had a rush like today," he said. Conclusion: if you make something sound popular, people rush to join the herd. Success rate, 2 out of 2. Also, I accidentally created a taco truck trend. You're welcome. Day 4, social proof at work. I decided to take it further, use social proof in a work setting. In a team meeting, I casually said, "A lot of teams I've talked to have started using this method. It's really boosted productivity." I hadn't talked to any teams. 15 minutes later, the team voted to try the method. Moral conflict, mild. Manipulation level, medium. Effectiveness, maximum. Day 5, authority positioning. People trust people who look, sound, or act like experts. So today, I dressed up slightly more formal than usual. I dropped buzzwords in meetings. I referenced studies no one checked. I even carried a notebook everywhere. The results were weirdly instant. One coworker asked me if I'd be interested in mentoring her on a new project. Another asked where I got my strategy frameworks. Lesson: sound confident, cite vague research, and dress like you run a TED Talk, and people will listen. Success rate: uncomfortably high. Ego inflation: also high. Day 6, subtle authority, subtle wins. Today I went more subtle. I changed my Zoom title to lead strategist. That's not technically my job title. Guess what? I got more follow-ups, more polite replies, and way fewer people talking over me. I didn't even say anything. I just carried the same energy. Authority works even when it's implied. Day 7, combining reciprocity plus authority. So I decided to combine what I'd learned. I gave small favors again. Free coffee, lunch breaks, offered feedback, and then subtly positioned myself as an expert while doing it. I told one friend, "I've been looking into productivity research lately. Want me to share what's worked for me?" He said yes. I shared basic tips. And now he messages me every morning with a gratitude journal update. Outcome: I became his self-improvement guru overnight. Success rate: one life mildly transformed. Me, feeling dangerously influential. Before we go deeper, quick favor. If you're enjoying this wild psychological ride, hit that like button, subscribe, And maybe comment with the sneakiest persuasion trick you ever used. Let's see who the real masterminds are in the comments. Alright, back to the madness. After 1 week of intentional dark psychology, here's what I noticed. These tricks work insanely well. Even on people who know me, I started noticing when others were using them on me. I also started getting weirdly addicted to the results. It felt good, too good, like I was playing a video game, and everyone else didn't know they were NPCs. That's the problem. Because I'm not trying to manipulate people. I just wanted to see what's possible when you understand human psychology really, really well. But I'll admit, there's a fine line between influence and manipulation. And I'm towing it. And the craziest part? That was just week 1. Week 2 is where things really start to bend the rules. Scarcity. Commitment. Emotional influence. I took it up a notch. Week 1 was about laying the foundation, testing classic influence techniques like reciprocity, authority, and social proof. Week 2, that's where I got bold. This week was all about urgency, emotional triggers, and getting people to say yes more than they normally would. Think marketing tactics mixed with Jedi mind tricks, except it's me, in real life. Trying to get my friends to help me rearrange furniture and make random commitments. Let's start with the most dangerous weapon, scarcity. Day 8. Scarcity. Limited time offer. The scarcity principle is simple. People want more of what they think they can't have. It's why Black Friday exists. So I tried it in conversations. I posted on my Instagram, "Hey, I've got 3 extra tickets to this underground jazz show. DM me if you're interested. First come, first serve." I had 0 tickets. Also, I don't even like jazz. Within 30 minutes, 17 messages. People who never respond to my stories were now begging me to save one for them. A girl I had a crush on in 2017 messaged me, "Yo, any chance one's still left?" I felt powerful. I felt dangerous. Also, I felt like I might accidentally organize a concert. Lesson: if it sounds limited, people will want it, even if they don't need it. Manipulation scale, mild. Success scale, ridiculously high. Day 9, scarcity in person, almost gone trick. I tried a real-life scarcity move. I told a friend, "Hey, I've been thinking of planning a quick road trip next weekend. I'm almost full on spots. Was going to ask you earlier, the key word, almost." Suddenly, she was interested. "Wait, who else is going?" she asked. I hadn't invited anyone else yet. But just saying there was limited space made her want to be included. She ended up helping me plan the whole thing. Lesson: scarcity plus FOMO equals magic. Day 10, commitment and consistency, the foot in the door method. This one's a brain glitch we all have. Once we commit to something small, we're more likely to go along with something bigger later. I started small. I asked my roommate, "Hey, can you remind me to send that email later today?" Super small ask. He said yes. Of course. Later that day, "Hey, could you actually help me write a few lines for it?" "You already reminded me, it'll be quick." Boom. Foot in the door. He helped write the whole thing. I used this method 5 times that day, on 5 different people. Got help with my laundry, YouTube thumbnails, and even groceries. Success rate, 5 out of 5. Moral clarity, declining. Power trip level, increasing. Day 11, the power of public commitment. I wanted to take commitment up a notch, publicly. I asked a friend to do a 3-day challenge with me, no sugar, just for fun. He hesitated, so I said, "Let's just post that we're doing it together, you can bail if you want." Once it was posted. He did not bail. He texted me the next morning, "I was gonna eat pancakes but your stupid story made me eat eggs." Observation: once people make their decisions visible, they stick to them, even if it's just to prove a point. Use with caution. Day 12, emotional triggers, gratitude guilt. This one's more emotional. I told someone close to me, "I've been thinking about how much you've helped me lately. I really appreciate you." That was true, but I said it with the goal of triggering gratitude guilt, where someone feels the urge to return the kindness. Guess what? She baked me cookies. I didn't even ask for anything. It felt manipulative. It also felt warm, so I tried it again. This time on my brother. I told him, "You've been so solid these last few weeks. Just wanted to say thanks." Next thing you know, he offered to fill my gas tank. Note: use this one ethically. It tugs at the heart. Success rate, 2 out of 2. Emotional impact, strong. Day 13, negative emotional leverage, subtle guilt cue. This was the most uncomfortable one. I casually mentioned to a friend, "Man, it's been a rough week. Haven't really heard from anyone lately." I wasn't trying to be manipulative, but I was. He immediately offered to grab lunch. "My bad, bro. I've been caught up." "You good?" Yes, I was good, but I was also testing emotional hooks. It worked. But it felt gross. Like, this is the part where influence gets too close to manipulation. Where you start pulling strings and forgetting there's a real human at the other end. I apologized later, I had to. Day 14, recap and realization. At the end of week 2, here's what I'd learned. Scarcity can manufacture demand. Commitment locks people in, especially public commitment. Emotional triggers are powerful, but they cut both ways. The line between using these techniques and abusing them is razor thin. By this point, I had convinced 3 people to join events that didn't exist. Use commitment bias to get unpaid help. Weaponize compliments. And nearly guilt-trip someone into lunch. That's when I realized I had to start tracking not just the effectiveness, but the ethics. Because it was working too well. In week 3, that's when I started layering these things together, like an evil sandwich of persuasion, charm, and Jedi mind tricks. Business meetings, dates, group decisions. I tested everything. If you've made it this far, you're already in deep, so go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe and comment Dark Jedi if you're ready to see how deep this rabbit hole goes. And if you try any of these tricks, ethically, let me know what happens. I'm genuinely curious and slightly concerned for humanity. Back to the experiment. Week 3 was where it all started to escalate. I stopped thinking like a normal person and started thinking like a strategist, layering techniques, controlling outcomes, running real-world simulations on real people. It was exciting, terrifying, and yes, someone actually called me a psychopath. By week 3, I wasn't just playing with individual persuasion techniques anymore. I was stacking them, mixing social proof with scarcity, blending emotional influence with authority. I was basically crafting psychological cocktails and serving them up in real-life conversations. At this point, I was either becoming a master of influence or slowly turning into a Bond villain. Let's call this week, the experiment goes for D. Day 15, layered persuasion, the test drive pitch. I wanted to test how powerful it would be to combine techniques. So I created what I called the test drive pitch. Here's what I did. I invited a friend to try this productivity app I just discovered. I said a few other people had told me it changed their life, social proof. I said it was only free for the next 48 hours, scarcity. I told them I had already been using it with amazing results, authority. Then I asked if they'd try it just for today, commitment. She downloaded the app immediately. Later that day, she messaged, "Okay. This thing actually helps." Technique combo, social proof plus scarcity plus authority plus commitment. Success rate, 1/1. Observation, when layered well, people don't just say yes, they believe they chose it. Day 16, the group influence stack. This was wild. I was at a team lunch where we were voting on which restaurant to use for our next meetup. I had a preference, the taco spot at hype earlier in the experiment. So I stacked my tools. I casually mentioned how everyone loved it last time, social proof. I reminded them it gets booked fast, so we should decide now, urgency. Then I said, I've hosted 2 events there before, it's a great setup, authority. I asked the quietest person at the table first. You cool with that, commitment starter? It was a domino effect. Everyone nodded along. Vote passed in 90 seconds. Result, my choice won, no resistance. Group mind? Activated. Success rate, 100%. Power feeling, slightly terrifying. Day 17, negotiation mode, using ethics, barely. I had a small freelance project come in, writing copy for a startup. I decided to use my skills to negotiate for higher pay, I said. I've done similar work for other companies and saw great conversion boosts, authority. I'm already booking into next month, but I could squeeze this in if we start soon, scarcity. My last client actually recommended I raise my rate, social proof plus subtle pressure. Result, they offered 25% more without me asking for a number. Me, slightly shocked, also me, smiling like a villain in a swivel chair. Day 18, the romantic experiment, instant regret. Let's be clear, I was not trying to manipulate anyone into falling in love. That's creepy, but I was curious what would happen if I used all my persuasion tricks during one casual date. I showed up confident, authority, mentioned how my friends always recommend this sushi place, social proof, said I don't usually go out midweek, scarcity of time, told a brief story about helping a friend through something emotional, empathy trigger, and ended with, honestly, I wasn't even planning to go on any dates this month. But I'm glad I made the exception. By the end of the night, she said, this feels weirdly easy. Like we just click. Yeah. That's when I started to get scared of myself. Success rate, high. Guilt level, medium high. Future plan, never run a date like a psychological operation again. Day 19, the self-awareness spiral. Something shifted today. I was in a casual convo with a friend, and without even thinking, I caught myself layering influence techniques automatically. I referenced someone else's opinion to validate my own, used scarcity language about an opportunity, slipped in emotional language to steer the mood. It worked, but the scary part was, I wasn't trying anymore. It was just habit. That night, I looked in the mirror and literally said, am I still a good person? Week 3 was doing something to my brain. I wasn't just experimenting anymore, I was becoming fluent in manipulation. Day 20, the confrontation. Today, one of my closest friends called me out. Bro, you've been kinda weird lately. You're always talking like you're pitching something. That hit hard. I realized I'd been treating every interaction like a case study. And while it was fun at first, smart even, it was starting to cost me something. Trust, authenticity, maybe even connection. So I told him what I was doing, the whole experiment. He stared at me and said, dude, that explains a lot. I thought you were joining a cult or something. We laughed, but I also felt gross, like I had to detox my brain. Day 21, evaluation, influence scorecard. I sat down and rated all the techniques I'd use based on effectiveness, ethics, emotional impact on others, emotional impact on me. Here's what I realized. Layering techniques multiplies impact. Most people don't question confidence or urgency. You can use these skills to help or to manipulate. And the difference is razor thin. The temptation to keep using them doesn't go away. Also, I was exhausted. Influencing people is work, and constantly managing outcomes made me feel like I wasn't living, just strategizing. Quick pause. If this experiment is blowing your mind, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and comment with the sneakiest psychological move you've ever seen in action. I might feature it in a future video, with full credit of course. Alright. Last stretch coming up, week 4. Week 3 taught me something huge. Once you can influence people, you start to question when you should. I had become insanely good at persuasion. But I was also starting to lose myself in the process. What began as a challenge was now revealing something deeper. That dark psychology isn't just about tricking people. It's about controlling environments, emotions, and decisions. And once you get good at it, it's hard to turn off. But in week 4, I finally did the hard part. I slowed down, I reflected, and I asked the question I'd been avoiding the entire time. Am I still the same person I was before this started? Let's find out. Week 4 wasn't about tactics, it was about truth. After 21 days of using dark psychology every single day, I had become insanely good at persuading people, but I also felt like I'd lost something: spontaneity, authenticity, maybe even trust. So week 4 was less what can I get people to do, and more, what did I just become? Day 22, the influence hangover. No experiments today. I woke up feeling mentally foggy, like I'd spent too much time inside my own head. Every conversation now came with a voice in my brain saying, use social proof, add a scarcity frame, anchor their expectations. It was like I couldn't even order coffee without strategizing it. I realized that influence, when used constantly, doesn't just shape others, it reshapes you. And not always in a good way. Day 23, a clean conversation. Today, I challenged myself, have one conversation without using any persuasion techniques. Just be real. I met up with a friend and didn't plan a single line ahead. I didn't mirror her language. I didn't insert artificial emotion, I just listened. And guess what? It felt amazing. Like stepping out of a performance. She even said, you seem more chill lately. Note to self, not every conversation needs to be a case study. Sometimes, being human is enough. Day 24, influence audit. Who did I affect? I made a list of everyone I'd influenced during the experiment. 14 co-workers, 9 friends, 4 family members, 3 strangers, 1 accidental taco truck rush. Then I listed what I'd gained: 3 project invites, 2 free meals, 1 minor raise, dozens of small favors, 1 potential love interest, a ridiculous amount of yeses. Then I asked, what did it cost? 1 slightly damaged friendship, 1 awkward explanation, 3 people who now side-eye me, several moments of guilt, and a trust deficit with myself. Net gain? Still unclear. Day 25, the ethics question. Let's talk about the line. Where does influencing and manipulation begin? Influences, suggesting, recommending, framing with honesty, helping someone make a choice that benefits them too. Manipulation is deceiving, guilt-tripping, exploiting blind spots, steering people to decisions they wouldn't have made if fully informed. Looking back, I crossed the line, at least 4 times, not maliciously, not cruelly, but enough to know I need to respect that line more. Because justifying a result with "but it worked" is exactly how manipulation thrives. Day 26, teaching instead of using. New approach. Share what I've learned. I sat down with 2 close friends and explained the principles I'd been testing. I told them how I'd use reciprocity, why I frame things with scarcity, what commitment bias does to your brain. They were stunned and weirdly grateful. One of them said, "Honestly, this helps me understand why I say yes to things I don't even want." Another said, "Wait, I think my ex used this stuff on me all the time." We ended up talking for hours about communication, agency, and subtle coercion. And for the first time, my experiment helped someone, not just me. Day 27, letting go of control. I went out with a group of friends. Old me would have tried to steer the night, pick the restaurant, control the vibe, frame the stories, but this time, I did nothing. I didn't lead. I didn't stack my sentences. I didn't guide decisions. I just participated. And it was one of the most fun nights I've had all month. Sometimes influence isn't power. Sometimes letting go is. Day 28, journaling the journey. I went through my notes from the whole experiment. Here's what I found. Total experiments run, 41. People impacted, at least 30. Techniques used, 9 core, stacked in endless combos. Most effective single technique, scarcity, most ethical one, reciprocity, most dangerous, emotional triggers, most addictive, authority positioning, biggest realization, understanding dark psychology doesn't make you evil, using it without awareness might. It's not the tool, it's the hand holding it. The final influence test, for good. I decided to run one last experiment, but this time, purely for someone else's benefit. My friend was launching a side project but was terrified no one would care. So I helped her craft a launch message using social proof. Others have said this is needed. Scarcity, limited early signups, emotional framing, you deserve to take this next step, authority, her credentials. We posted it. In 24 hours, she had 60+ signups. She cried. I almost did too. It worked, but this time, it felt different because this time, it wasn't about me. Day 30. What I learned. 30 days, dozens of tactics, dozens of people, a full spectrum of results. And here's what I learned. Influence is everywhere. You can't escape it. But you can understand it. These techniques are powerful, but power without conscience is dangerous. It's easier to influence others than you think. But it's harder to live with yourself if you do it for the wrong reasons. The most effective influence still comes from authenticity, empathy, and clarity, not trickery. I didn't come out of this experiment with mind control powers, but I did come out with something better, self-awareness, and the knowledge that, yes, you can read people, you can nudge their decisions, but the real magic is when you do it transparently, respectfully, and for something greater than yourself. If you've made it this far, you're part of this experiment too, so here's your final test. Like this video, subscribe if you haven't, and comment below. Influence isn't evil, it's a mirror. I want to see who's actually been paying attention, and if this video made you rethink how you communicate, share it with a friend. Just don't use it to trick them into buying you lunch, please. This was my 30-day dark psychology experiment. I survived. I changed, and I might need therapy. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.